Hey everybody, it's Professor Malat here with your week 5 overview. After the end of this week, we will have completed 1/3 of our semester. So that means, we got the narrative unit out of the way, and we are going to be working towards research and rhetorical analysis and a lot of great things. Um, so let me share our screen and get straight to it and take a look at the overview. So you wrote your rough draft, and now this week we are focusing on peer review and then revision. So your rough draft doesn't have to be perfect, right? I said that last week. At least get halfway through it. Um, that way I have information that I can provide feedback on, as well as your peer reviewer. They have something that they can provide comments on. So there are a lot of resources this week, and I really recommend that you take a very good look at them. I have several readings related to peer review, why it's important, why it's necessary. I know a lot of students aren't thrilled with the idea of other people besides your professor reading your work, and I get it. But peer review can be a really positive experience, especially when we come to the table offering not so much criticism, but ways that one can improve, right? So instead of, you point out both the good aspects of the writing as well as things that could be improved. And as well, we have a link here for understanding feedback, links for revising, smoothing your writing. There is even a handbook for editing. I'm going to open that link up just to give you a glimpse of what it's all about. It has a whole table here of things that you want to learn about. So if you're struggling with punctuation, things like comma splices, sentence fragments, and run-on sentences, you can look under this general heading. Words and language, misplaced modifiers can be tricky sometimes. Points of view, first, second, and third person, point of view in literature, that probably won't apply to us. Verbs, if you are an English language learner, sometimes subject-verb agreement or verb tense can be a little tricky. Pronouns, mechanics, so that deals with capital letters, spelling, titles of works. And then we are using MLA in this class. I don't think you will need to use any kind of citations. We're not worrying about it so much in this narrative. We'll get deeper into MLA in text citations as we progress through the semester. However, if you are doing writing in other classes where you're not using MLA, say you're in a psychology class or a history class, and your professor says, I want APA citations, and you're like, what the heck is APA? I haven't even covered that in my in my English class. You could come to this page. So it's a good idea to actually bookmark this page to come back to and use as reference. There's also Chicago style. There's no extra over here. I don't know why they have that. So again, this is a very handy thing when it comes to editing. So make sure that you bookmark it, save it somewhere for you so that you can come back to it time and again when you need to. The lectures this week, again, pertaining to being a peer editor. So this is our first real peer review experience. So I have a couple of short videos that explain how to be a really good peer editor. I'm not expecting you so much to be editing, but at least reviewing the content and seeing how well the other student represents their ideas. Anyway, back to the lectures and media, how to be a great peer editor, how to write effective peer review comments. I think that's a really, really good video. And of course, we have this peer reviews Canvas video tutorial. If you need it, we have optional materials from study hall composition through crash course, how to revise, and what is editing. So those are two more helpful videos. I know it's a lot of videos, it's a lot of content, but it is necessary for making sure that you have the instruction and the reasoning and rationale behind peer review. So let's go to this online peer review assignment. You will have been assigned a rough draft for review through Canvas. If you have submitted your rough draft after the 11:59 p.m. due date on Sunday, I will have to go into the system and manually assign a peer once you have submitted your draft. If you don't submit a draft, you won't be able to take part in peer review, which I think I made clear last week. So anyway, peer review will be due Wednesday, September 24th. And that's to allow some time for your peer partner to be able to implement your feedback as well as my feedback into their revisions. So in this assignment page, there's nothing that you need to submit, right? It's connected to the rough draft assignment, so there's nothing to submit. But I'm able to see in Canvas your completed peer review. I am able to see all of the comments and all the marks that you make, and I'll make sure that you receive credit for completing your review. I have it here. It is an assignment, so it's going to show up in your to-do list. There's nothing to submit. This is simply a way for me to have space in the gradebook to make sure I give you credit for the work that you've done. So again, to be assigned peer review, you have to submit your rough draft. Excuse me. But at the top of the page, you might be curious to think, well, what do we need to do? Here is a suggestion. I have the CARES peer feedback review form, or peer review feedback form. So this is a PDF. You do not have to do anything with this. If you're able to fill it out online, I think if you download it, it actually will, you can actually, let me double check that. Yes, so I actually downloaded this form. If you want to use it and type in your feedback and then save it as a file to your computer, you can do that. It is a typable form. All of these little purplish boxes, bluish purplish boxes are areas where you can type in your feedback if you want to. That's one option, right? You don't have to, I'm not requiring you, but this gives you some idea of things that you can do with your feedback. So CARES actually stands for congratulate, ask clarifying questions, request more information, evaluate its value, and summarize. And they have some leading questions here to help you think about how you can provide some really quality feedback to your peer. So, you know, for example, it asks what parts of the essay were a bit confusing and why, if anything was confusing. What specific suggestions do you have for revising the unclear parts of this writing? Request more. What would you like to know more about the topic that can enhance the essay and that supports the thesis? So when you're reading, sometimes you might have some questions for the writer. So a way to phrase that would be, I would like to see blank, or I would like to know more about blank, whatever it might be. You know, what it might be pieces of the story that you feel are missing that could enhance your understanding of what the writer is trying to communicate. There are a few things in the back of this page. Thesis needs to better identify the main point of the essay, topic, sentences, paragraphs, any kind of repeating words or repeating ideas, vague language, slang, transition words, anything with proofreading, punctuation, spelling, and grammar. I do not expect anybody to pick up on any mistakes. However, if you feel comfortable pointing that out, you're more than welcome to. I will take a look at those kinds of things. I will do the copy editing overview, and if I need to, if a student is consistently making the same grammatical error or mechanical error, I will provide a comment, and I will usually also provide a link so that student can go and find information outside of the course that can help them understand why those things are not correct. So let me jump back to our course page. So again, you don't have to download it and fill it out if you don't want to. I think it's a helpful form. I do use them in my in-person classes, so it's really up to you. But the other option is to use the tools within Canvas. So when I view your assignments, it opens up into a Canvas viewer, and I am able to use tools within Canvas to actually make marks within your document, as well as feedback and commentary. So there is a whole thing having to do with peer review, and Canvas explains it in a wonderful tutorial video. So I highly recommend that you watch the peer review feature, how to use it in Canvas. But then to locate your assigned peer, you need to go to the personal narrative rough draft in the assignments tab. So you can either look at assignments or look at grades and find the document that you submitted. You're looking for your own submission. And when you get there, on the right-hand side under submission, you should see assigned peer reviews, right? This is for those of you who have already submitted your rough drafts. Click on the student's name and you'll be able to access their paper. And once you locate the peer's paper, click on view feedback and that will open up the document viewer. If you click on their document, it's going to download their document, which you don't really want. You don't want somebody else's paper on your computer, right? So you can then draw, mark up, highlight, flag areas, and leave in text commentary. Canvas tracks all of those changes, so it's not like you need to save something. However, if you fill out the assignment rubric and you leave comments in the assignment feedback area over on the right-hand side of the page, you do need to save those. Otherwise, those comments will be lost. So that's the only thing. If you're working within the document viewer, any commentary that comes up on, if you flag something and you want to type a little comment, that all gets automatically saved. If your peer reviewer fails to review your draft, you don't have to worry about that. You're still responsible for submitting the final draft of the essay. And as long as you review somebody else's paper, you're golden, right? If your peer reviewer doesn't review your draft, you still need to revise, right? I'm providing feedback. You still need to revise. Don't wait for them, right? Anyway, that was a long-winded explanation of the personal narrative peer review. I just wanted to make sure I covered all the bases because I know from previous experience, some students were confused by it, that they don't submit anything. Again, Canvas captures it all within that document view, the Canvas document viewer, and there's no physical thing that you have to submit. It will pull up and it works well within the system. And once you get used to it, it's like, oh yeah, this is kind of cool, right? So that's the personal narrative peer review. And then of course we have your career narrative final revision. That's due on Sunday, September 28th. Again, this is just a recap of the assignment. So right now you're just going to be revising. Again, the criteria for success should be 3 to 4 pages long, 800 to 1,000 words, double spaced, 12-point font. And you'll see the breakdown within the rubric, how many points for each of the criteria, grammar and style, of course, are minimal, right? I'm really looking more for the depth of your reflection, how clearly you are writing, and how you use examples within your writing. So those are the 2 assignments. Again, lots of reading if you need to do it, right? I like to offer it in many modalities because we all learn kind of differently. So if you're a person who likes to have something where you can sit and read through it, fantastic. Videos will cover similar things. And, again, down here we have stuff dealing with editing and revising, which kind of work with these links up here in the reading area. So yeah, if you have any questions for me, if anything is confusing, please don't feel like it's a stupid question. Reach out to me, for clarification, I am happy to walk you through the process and to help you troubleshoot anything that might be hindering your success, okay? And again, remember, if you need help, additional help, we have writing tutors who are able to work with you virtually through email. They're fantastic people, at least the people that we have at UC Claremont. We do also have the Academic Writing Center that's within the Learning Commons of the bigger university. So make use of those resources, and because it really will ensure that you are successful in this class. Okay, everybody, take care and have a fantastic week. I look forward to reading your revisions. Bye-bye.